Hey, Deserved listeners, it's time to continue watching The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, the episode that was just on last week. I'm going to react to it. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and professor. Let's watch.
And just start from scratch, because honestly, there's no reason why we shouldn't be having fun and getting along.
And we can let that go if we can fast forward to you calling me out about not paying with the charity. Cut me to the core.
So I, of course, have no idea, but I use these shows as a jumping off point to talk about things that I do know about. And we just heard two things. I don't know if I included both of those clips, but for Garcelle, I believe that's her name. I have a little cheat sheet here. Garcelle, and who is that? That's Kyle Richards. So for Garcelle, she was saying the complaints that she had for Kyle is that when we're in a group of people, you'll listen to everyone else, but I'll just be glazed over. You'll just skip over me, that kind of thing. You just seem to ignore me. You don't respect my opinion. You don't listen to me. You don't give me the same amount of respect as you give other people. The other thing that Garcelle said was, when you accused me on camera that I did not give to the charity that I promised I would give to, that really cut me to my core. So there is a potential race issue here. When people of color, like myself, but particularly black people, are in groups of people, there can be really odd reactions from white people. Not all the time, of course, but when you are a black person, and a lot of my black colleagues and friends will tell this to me, clients included, that they'll be in a meeting and there'll just be a general weird feeling that they'll get. Not always, but sometimes. And you could imagine, particularly in the upper classes, I don't want to accuse anyone of anything, but I don't know about Kyle. Maybe she doesn't have a racist bone in her body. It'd be hard not to be at least a little bit racist in our racist society. It's hard to not be indoctrinated into certain ideas. But one of the experiences that black people will talk about, and women also, we have a lot of students in our university. Most of them are women identified. I will hear stories from my colleagues, professors, about the way that students will talk to them. And I will say, what? A student said what to you? Like, I've been teaching here for 25 years. I've never been talked to that way. And then I'd hear another woman professor say, oh no, that happens to me all the time. I'd be like, what? If I had a student say that to me, lights out, like, we're done. And the other, women professors are like, this happens to me all the time. And we would talk about it, and we concluded, it's hard to know, that this is due to sexism. Women and men, also, all the students on average, treat the female professors worse than they treat the male professors. And that's what we call male privilege, right? So we don't know, but maybe for Garcelle, she is either detecting or feeling this racism, subtle racism that's occurring that is making her feel ignored. The other element here is there was a mix-up regarding the money for the charity. And instead of, who knows, I don't know Kyle, I don't know the situation, but maybe if Garcelle were a white person, maybe Kyle would say, well, I'm sure there was a mix-up, but because she is black, was it assumed that she was trying to scam the system somehow? We have a lot of racist ideas in our society. It wouldn't be unusual for Kyle to subtly or not so subtly have some of those racist ideas. I don't know. But at the very least, if you're Garcelle, you have to wonder, am I being treated differently because of the color of my skin?
I'm not the one in charge of handling the money. That was someone else.
When I finally got the information from them, it's an address that I hadn't had for years.
I know you're a good person. You took care of it right away after that. If we'd been getting along fine, I never would have said anything.
Would you have said it to one of the white women?
Yes. That's what I was thinking. And so, of course, Garcelle is thinking the same thing. So, all right. If we're going to use this as a jumping off point, we don't know Kyle's mind, we don't know her heart, but white people out there, if you're in that position, here's what you do. You don't do that. Well, maybe you do that initially, but then you say, I don't know. I'd like to think that I didn't discriminate against you, but maybe I did. I don't know. Maybe I have this unconscious thing. Let me think about that. That's the response you have. Almost always the response is, I'm not racist. I have black friends. How dare you accuse me of racism? Look, everyone, even black people, even Asian Americans have been indoctrinated into the racist, sexist, ableist, classist, otherist culture that we live in. And we can't help it. There's just no way out of it. We are inundated. We're drowning in the isms, and it's just in there, and it's fine. It doesn't make you a bad person, especially if it was subconscious. Okay, we understand that there's, unconscious bias or the possibility of not really being aware of our prejudice. That's okay. It was not volitional. You did not do it on purpose, but you still might have done it. In the same way that I, as a man, when I'm in a group of people, mixed genders, and I tend to listen a bit longer to the men as opposed to the women. And when the women are talking, I tend to interrupt them a little bit more. Am I doing that on purpose? No. I would never consciously shut down someone just because of their gender. But do I do it? I'm sure I do, because I've been indoctrinated into a sexist society. So let's see what she says.
Said it to one of the white women. This is how I feel. I feel like it was weaponized towards me being a black woman.
Oh my God, like, I don't have any issues with you.
I know you probably didn't intentionally, but I don't think you realize the effect that it has on me.
Right, that's the other side to this that I was thinking of, which is even if you didn't mean it in a racist way, you have to understand where I'm coming from as a black woman, that for you to accuse me of being a cheapskate is something that is extremely painful to me and other people like me. For you to accuse me of that in such a blatant way, it would be like, this is an example of Asian discrimination. So if I'm driving down the road on a reality TV show, I get in an accident and it's unclear who's to blame. I think it's the other car's fault, not my fault. And then Kyle says to me, well, it was probably your fault. Okay. Now, maybe Kyle has reasons to believe that it probably was my fault. But given that Asians are frequently discriminated against because they're driving, there's lots of jokes about Asian drivers driving while Asian, that kind of thing, that for someone to just edge on the side of assuming that it was my fault could feel very bad to me. And other people should be aware of that, or they should strive to be aware of those things. That even if they have reasons to believe it was my fault, maybe they shouldn't say that because they might know that I would be sensitive to that. And so for Kyle to have just blatantly on public TV accused Garcelle of what she accused her of, she might have thought a little deeper and said, maybe I should word it a little differently in this situation. So Garcelle is bringing that up, which is good to bring up. And I'm glad. Maybe people watching this show can say, oh, hadn't thought about that. It's all about empathy. It's not about political correctness. It's not about following rules. It's about empathy. It's about understanding other people's experience, incorporating that into your decision-making, and acting accordingly. People that act subtly racist, it's usually not an issue of lack of empathy. It's an issue of they just don't understand what other people are going through. If they did understand, then that would invoke their empathy. So let's see what Kyle says here.
Being a black woman. There's stereotypes that people think that we don't pay for our rent, that we don't tip.
I would never even think about that.
Because you don't have to deal with that. Because it's not your reality, but it's my reality.
Yes. Now, what should Kyle say? Kyle should say, I did not know that because I'm a white person. So, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I am so sorry. I would like to think that I'm not racist and I was just treating you like I would treat anyone else. But wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that about that. So that makes sense to me and I'm really sorry. Let's see what Kyle says.
Think about, do I tip or do I not tip? If I don't tip, they're going to say, black people don't tip anyway. She never would have tipped. But the service was horrible.
Right.
So there's all this stuff that people don't realize that we think about before we have to do anything.
Right. This is great. There's so much that she's laying out that is really important for everyone in mainstream America to hear. When you learn about that, you're like, I hadn't thought about, as a white person, I've never had to think. When I get bad service, I just don't give a tip. And I don't think that's going to be attributed to my group of people that I'm quote unquote representing in this moment. So now on the plus side, what Kyle is doing, she's not arguing, she's listening. I wish she would do a little bit more validating or showing that she gets it or understanding, but at least she's not arguing. So let's listen more.
Where did you get that handbag? Where did you get that piece of jewelry? No one has ever asked me, what's it like being a black woman in Hollywood? And sometimes that makes me feel like an outsider. You saying I didn't pay, that's why I hurt so much.
I totally understand that. And for that, I apologize. I wasn't thinking of it like that at all.
Okay, good. It's definitely in the right direction. I wish there was a little bit more of, wow, thank you for telling me your experience. Now I can incorporate that into how I see the world. Thank you so much. But she says, I'm sorry, you're right. I didn't think about it that way. So, pretty good conversation overall. If only everyone in our country could have conversations like this, we would be able to move forward a lot faster.
I appreciate you sharing that with me. I do. I really do. Thank you.
Now, the question is Kyle actually listening and incorporating that, or is she just saying that and inside she's thinking, I don't know if this makes any sense. Garcelle is a baby. I don't know. Maybe y'all know because you've watched this show before and you know if Kyle is the sort of person that would actually incorporate this or not.
I have not walked in her shoes. Even though I didn't mean it like that, I can understand now why she unfollowed me on Instagram. And I have a much better understanding of who she is and where she comes from.
Yeah, fantastic. What a wonderful conversation. Garcelle stepped up and said, I'm going to tell you how things are for me. I'm going to say it clear. I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm going to tell you. And I'm going to give you a chance to understand so that you can correct your behavior and apologize. And Kyle apologized. And now Kyle says, I did not know that. I didn't know what it was like to walk in her shoes. Now I do. That makes sense to me. Great.
There's a really big stigma with black women that we're seen as angry or aggressive. And sometimes those labels make you want to hold back a little bit because you don't want to fall into the stereotype that was given to us. We haven't claimed it, but people have labeled us that.
Yeah, good on this show for highlighting these issues. And maybe we'll see more examples of this, maybe even for the Chinese-American woman as well. As an Asian, I'm curious as to where that storyline goes. All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.